I've spent the last few videos talking about Sega, and while they've been very instrumental in shaping my childhood alongside the gaming industry, there was another company too, one that everybody could probably point to and say that they were also instrumental in their childhood. Nintendo. The Big N has been around for over a century, starting as a playing card company and branching out to various other ventures in the mid-20th century, before becoming a toy maker and eventually landing on video games in the 1970s. Ever since the success of the Nintendo Entertainment System in the 1980s, Nintendo has been a dominant force in the gaming industry. Of course, growing up, there's always been a sort of stigma against the company, that they only make games for children, soon to be replaced with your Halos and your Call of Duties. Manly games for manly men, or some whack shit like that. There's nothing wrong with playing Nintendo games as an adult, frankly. Nobody cares! I think. So I'm gonna do the responsible thing after saying that, and talk about a Nintendo game I played for my childhood.
Nintendo.
Fucking hell. How does that still get me? Luigi's Mansion was a launch title for Nintendo's 6th generation console, the GameCube, back in 2001. It was also, along with a whole bunch of other games, one of the first I ever played for the system. Nintendo's lunchbox at Tried was my introduction to the company. Before I got a decent helping of some of Nintendo's other franchises on the GameCube, Mario wasn't really one of them. Oh, I was aware of the Italian Plumber, but those formative years weren't spent with many of the main series. It was mainly the spin-off games, Mario Kart, Paper Mario. Until then, this was what I had. The horror-adjacent spin-off featuring his brother, and yes, I was scared of it. I was 5. You know what else scared me when I was 5? Yeah, thought so. Luigi's walking down the spooky forest path because he got a letter in the mail telling him that he won a free mansion, despite not entering any contests to begin with. He told Mario, and the two agreed to meet up at Luigi's swanky new pad. Arriving at the place, not only is Luigi the victim of the most egregious case of false advertising this side of Halo 5, but Mario is nowhere to be seen. Oh, and the mansion's haunted. But the younger brother is saved from his poltergeist pursuers by the elderly Professor Egad, who's been researching the mansion ever since it popped up into existence a few days ago. He informs Luigi that Mario entered the mansion earlier but hasn't come out since, leaving our guy in green being the one to do the rescuing this time around. They can't just jump on the ghosts to get rid of them. No, Egad gives Luigi the #1 tool in the art of ghost hunting, the Poltergust 3000, a vacuum cleaner capable of sucking up dirt, dust, and the paranormal. How it does that, I don't know, but that's not important. We've got some ghost busting to do. Even 25 years later, I'd say Luigi's Mansion still holds up graphically. Every object in the game has its own shadow attached to it, even Luigi. There's also the amount of dust that trails behind him, like, seriously, it's like they never cleaned the place at all, it's astounding. It's a minor thing that I never really noticed growing up, but I suppose that shows you how much I was paying attention to background elements like that. Though, speaking of background stuff, I like how the text in the menus change if you wait a while. Really, now that I'm thinking about it, I think the only thing about this game that really scared me was just the Nintendo logo.
Nintendo.
Stop that. I think the problem is that it just pops up out of nowhere as soon as the GameCube logo disappears, on top of the voice. But I suppose it could have been worse. It could have been the one from Eternal Darkness. Now that would have scarred me irreparably as a kid. Of course, now that I'm significantly older and only slightly less averse to horror media, Luigi's Mansion doesn't scare me at all. I'd be concerned if it still does. Our goal here is to find Mario, and in order to do so, Luigi's got to capture a crap ton of ghosts inhabiting the mansion. There's the generic cartoonish ones, who I really like, each with different designs and methods of attacking Luigi, and the portrait ghosts, which I'll get to later. The major question you're probably wondering is how in the ever-loving hell does getting rid of ghosts work? Well, it's a twofold approach. You stun them by shining your flashlight at them when they're close, causing their heart to appear. When that happens, hold the R button to suck! At that point, it turns into a diet fishing minigame, where the ghost tries to drag Luigi across the ground. You have to move the control stick in the opposite direction the ghost is pulling Luigi in order to lower its health. Once it reaches 0, the ghost is captured. If you group them up together, you can get multiple ghosts in one go. There's nothing more satisfying in this game than grouping ghosts together and getting multiple of them at the same time. As you progress, Luigi will pick up elemental metals that cause ghosts of that type to appear from certain areas. Fire, water, and ice. Capture one and you can expel that element with the L button. Since the Gamecube's shoulder buttons are analog, they have two functions to them. A half press will expel the element, and a full press from there will send a ball of the stuff outwards, hitting anything in its path. EGAD has a device in his lab called the Ghost Portrificationizer, able to turn the supernatural into natural works of art. The ghosts he had as paintings have escaped and taken up residence in the mansion, all thanks to King Boo, who as it turns out is the one responsible for the mansion and stuffing Mario into a painting of his own. The portrait ghosts each have their own special way to get their heart visible in order to capture them. Depending on how many times it takes you to capture them, it changes the portrait frame that the ghost is in. Getting a gold portrait can be a pain in the ass for some of the later ghosts, and you want to at least try to get those gold portraits, since the ghosts drop pearls as you capture them. Those pearls are tallied up along with all the gold coins, bars, and dollar bills stashed around the mansion. Not to mention the various kinds of gems. Luigi makes out like a goddamn bandit in this game. He makes more money in this game than I'll see in my life. Or really anybody's. Progress in Luigi's mansion is simple. Clear ghosts out of a room in order to turn the lights on. Open the chest that might spawn either a key or cash. Maybe there's a portrait ghost in there, requiring some thinking in order to get the drop on that ghost and add it back into EGAD's collection.
A few moments later.
Each area ends in a fight with a specific portrait ghost. First up is Chauncey, a literal toddler who sends rocking horses and inflatable balls at Luigi. Bogmire is a ghostly blob that creates shadowy versions of itself that can be sucked up and shot back at. And then there's Boolossus. This fight can drag on only because of how annoying it can be. See, first you have to get Boolossus to pop itself on one of the two unicorn statues, separating all of the boos from one another. Unfortunately, as the fight goes on, the boos get away from Luigi faster than you can aim and freeze them, and you're liable to miss. Luigi's Mansion isn't really a long game. Even if you don't know what you're doing, it's usually around the 4 to 5 hour mark. The game moves at a very brisk pace, all things considered. It doesn't overstay its welcome since it's a showcase for the system and an opportunity to give Luigi the spotlight. Speaking of Luigi, it's this game that consolidated his personality as that of the reluctant hero, whereas Mario has the can-do attitude who psychotically screams wahoo as he crushes Goombas into a fine paste. Luigi's like me, a fraidy cat. Hey, why didn't I finish this game as a kid again? Oh, damn, really? Well, moving on. I said the game's short, but there's an attempt at padding with the Boo Hunt. Early on in Area 2, Luigi releases 50 Boos, along with King Boo, who, instead of taking the opportunity to gang up on one single plumber, proceeds to run away because of the home appliance he's carrying on his back. Can't really blame him, though. EGAD gave that vacuum the greatest suck of all vacuums ever made. Unlike the other ghosts, Luigi's not getting dragged across the floor, but has to keep aim at the Boo in order to drain its health. It's fine for the first few areas, but becomes a pain in the ass by Area 4, when the health jumps into the hundreds. See, the Boos can move through the walls into other rooms, meaning you'll have to follow after them. The main issue is when they escape into a room that has the lights turned off, since you'll be dealing significantly less damage to them than you would if the lights were on. It gets to a point where I was imagining the Benny Hill theme playing every time a Boo kept leaving a room, forcing me to hightail it to where that damn Boo went, because the way the Boos move through walls can be a little confusing and lead you to think a Boo went to one room, and then you're running around the entire mansion trying to figure out where the last damn Boo went, only to find it in the goddamn breaker room. No, I'm not speaking from personal experience, it's all hypothetical. Luigi's Mansion is a game that stuck with me since I was a child, make of that what you will. While I've long gotten over my initial fear of it, it's a game that I really should play more often. It's got a unique, spooky feel to it that makes it stand out in Nintendo's catalog of games. Nintendo's dipped into the horror well a few times over the years, but Luigi's Mansion probably is one of the more well-ish known examples, unless your name was Eternal Darkness, but the average person has probably never heard of Eternal Darkness. Oh, if only the GameCube sold better. But crying about it won't change anything, I guess. There are a lot of systems that I think should have done better than it did, but such is life. I mean, so what if the PS2 played DVDs, and that's one of the reasons why people bought it in droves? I'll be here with my mini DVDs in my cube that's not really a cube, full of fun and whimsy. What does Sony have anyway? Matter of fact, what's Sony up to nowadays? Oh, that is scary.